Pastor Yo here again, talking about the book of Revelation, putting together some short videos to deal with passages we're not looking at on Sunday mornings with our church community. So we started the book of Revelation at the beginning of 2021. We've gotten through to chapter 9. We're skipping over chapter 10 and also skipping over chapter 11. And I'm hoping that this video and other ones I make will be helpful to you. They'll be just a short look at a passage or a chapter that we won't look at on Sunday mornings. And again, I want to emphasize, I'll say this on Sunday mornings as well, but I want to emphasize my growing conviction that the book of Revelation is meant to be a book of hope. It is a book of hope. And we're meant to find hope as we read it, even in the really challenging passages. So this chapter, Revelation chapter 11, is full of, as other chapters are, lots of interesting details and aspects that we could look at and try and figure out. One of the main things going on in this chapter is this talk about these two witnesses. There are two witnesses who are talked about, and I'm sure there's going to be maybe 100 different interpretations of who those two witnesses are. The commentators I'm reading seem to suggest that maybe the two witnesses are representative of the church in general. As Jesus sent out his disciples 2 by 2, he sends out his church into the world. And so often, I think ministry happens best when it's 2 by 2, people ministering together. So I think the two witnesses could very well be a symbolic portrayal of the church giving a testimony to Jesus on the earth in this time as we wait for his second coming. Regardless of who the two witnesses are, there is a ministry that they have, an incredible ministry. They have power, authority, they're doing amazing things. But then we read in verse 7 that the beast comes from the abyss, attacks the two witnesses, overpowers them, and kills them. And their bodies, verse 9, lie in the public square of the great city. So even though they're powerful witnesses and they do powerful things, the beast comes, attacks them, overpowers them, kills them. But the hope is, and the good news of this chapter is, that's not the end of the story, which is the news throughout the book of Revelation. Persecution might come, attack might come. It looks like the dragon, the beast, the forces outside the church, attacking the church, have overcome. They have not. We read in verse 11, but after 3.5 days, the breath of life, the breath of life from God entered the two witnesses, and they stood on their feet, and terror struck those who saw them. So there was a ministry, there was a death, a killing, and there was a resurrection, just like the ministry of Jesus. But not just those things. We also read in verse 13 that the survivors were terrified by all that was going on. There was an earthquake that happened after this. There was a collapse of a tenth of the city. But the end of verse 13 says they were terrified and they gave glory to the God of heaven, which I think is a reference to them recognizing, giving glory to God is a recognition of who God is. So there was this ministry of the two witnesses. There was this attack and this killing of the two witnesses. There was the resurrection of the two witnesses. And now there are people who are giving glory to God. Again, just like the ministry of Jesus, which I believe Revelation 11 tells us is also the ministry of the church. And as we have hope of what Christ went through, we also have hope that the church will go through the same process, resurrection included, and then the glory of those who will see this, glory to God for those who will witness both the ministry of Jesus, but also the ministry of the church. And I give thanks for that good news and that good hope that Revelation 11 gives us.